decided to try and open the shelter somewhere in the first week of the invasion. I think a lot of people had this sense of, what can you do? There's a sort of general sense of wanting to go and help in some way, to go and fight Russians or something. I think everyone realized they'd just get shot within the first week and be completely useless and just in the way.
It's a big surprise when I sent message in shelter. And after 30 minutes or 1 hour, I have answered, yes, of course, we're waiting you. I think, are you sure? You wait me? They always protect me and protect my baby, and I want to tell them a lot of thanks. I don't know how to thank them. They helped to survive.
I'd run hostels for the previous 10 years. We were fortunate that we had lots of beds left over, lots of mattresses, lots of sheets. Making beds and filling them with people. That's probably the only thing I'm actually qualified to do, which is any use at all.
This is Vitae Shelter in our reception. This is where all our refugees would be greeted. We have room for 60 people here, so we have the opportunity to host both long-term accommodation and people just needing to pass through Budapest.
I think there might be some crossover between Crazy Party Hostel and Refugee Shelter, which I guess isn't really obvious.
Budapest Party Hostels was as famous as it was because in so many instances, whoever was there did the craziest thing that they thought they had done on their travel. And then that one story you tell every town you go to happened to be the one that happened at Retox or Grandio or Carpe. Or you heard the craziest thing you'd ever heard while you're in Budapest because you were staying at one of those infamous places.
We opened our first hostel, Carpe Noctem, in 2008.
And in the first year of operation, it won most fun hostel in the world. So that was pretty incredible for a 22-bed place.
A couple of years later, we decided to open Vitae and Grandio.
Vitae had more common space than any hostel than I'd ever been in. Grandio was the jungle. It was kind of like, we're never gonna leave the hostel. We have a jungle and a bar, that's all we need.
And then a year later, we opened also Retox and Penthouse Privates.
Retox was the crazy, crazy one. That was all drinking competitions and Jaeger trains. Penthouse Privates for private couples who still want to get involved. That was the whole angle.
Later, we opened our last place, Meander.
When it was all said and done, it was over 550 beds in the whole company. Any drinking game you can think of, it's happening probably at one of our hostel bars. It was. And then whatever it was, that drinking game you knew, we had to dial it up by like 100 and make it competitive and make everybody watch. Party boats, party buses, alcohol Olympics, Jaeger train. We wanted every single day to be a standalone event that was really, really cool. There was always this general feeling that I could walk up to anyone in this bar and just sit with them and say, hey, where are you from? And they would accept you. That I think I never got home in the States. You try to just walk up to a stranger and say hi, and they're like, who the fuck are you? We had a common goal here. The common goal was to take anyone who came in and make them feel like they're also part of what you're doing, you know? Like, having a common goal is big. It binds people together. It became legendary for partying, I think because at the base level, you could get away with all the things you weren't allowed to get away with in your normal life. That seemed to be the sentiment. You know, we had this thing written at Retox on the wall. It said, you'll never be this free again. And people really, really bought into that.
Fellow citizens,
Depuis
quelques semaines, notre pays
For
fait
some
face
weeks
à la
now, our
propagation
country
d'un
has been
virus,
facing the spread of a
le
virus,
Covid-19, qui a touché
COVID-19.
Non-essential businesses in New Zealand must now close.
The Prime Minister has announced the most drastic limits to our lives that the UK has ever seen in living memory.
The coronavirus crisis is changing so fast that these maps can't keep up. The great shutdown of 2020 is underway.
That spring, we sort of thought as long as this was over by the summer, everything would be okay. And by summer, when everything was in complete lockdown, we realized we were totally fucked.
I knew then, I think I knew without maybe knowing or without thinking like out loud that it's all done now. We could always feel like this was taken from us. Like we didn't drive it into the ground. A disease came and stole it from us.
It was awful to begin with, and I think that's the case probably for anybody who worked in this industry. Spent 10 or 15 years building something up, and watching it all collapse is pretty tough.
For the first time, I could just be like, okay, there's no fires to put out. There's no drunk people to, get back to their room. There's no phone call in the middle of the night saying this dramatic thing happened. The entirety of human emotion and all of the rage and the beauty and the joy and the depravity, everything was there for 10 years. And not just like once, every single day for 10 years. It's a transient lifestyle, hostels. I've said goodbye to thousands of best friends. But it was always okay because new ones are coming in. And in COVID, it only went one way. Everyone left, and there was nothing coming back to fill the bowl back up. And it was eerie, and it was weird, and it was very final.
After months of preparations, the Russian President Vladimir Putin has launched a major military operation against Ukraine. Speaking on national television, Mr. Putin urged Ukrainian troops to lay down their arms and go home. He warned that anyone who interfered in Russia's actions would face retaliation. Loud explosions have been now heard in Ukraine in lots of different cities as the Russian assault has begun.
Before the invasion of Russians in Ukraine, I had a normal life. I have been working, had relationships, parties. Everything was like normal. We've been hearing this updates from the US that the invasion is inevitable and so on. Yeah, but of course you can't be prepared for something like that.
Until early this morning, some here in Kiev doubted that he would do it. Not anymore.
This day, 24 February, I just sit in my apartment, scared, listen news and don't understand what happening in outside and in Ukraine and in this war. I was in the second month of my pregnancy when Russia invaded, but I didn't believe that it's serious. I thought that they will fight with each other 2 weeks or 3 weeks and this will be finished soon. Because Ukrainians and Russians could not fight against each other. It was a madness, insane. Nobody believed in this. So I was calm. And I went to the underground station and sat there and was waiting. The main thing in your brain is like, it's unsafe. We went westward. We spent 2 nights in the car. The line was quite long to cross the border. The weather was quite nice. You feel like the spring is here. And I was sitting in that car and I thought like, oh man, I wish I was in my favorite park in Kiev, walking my dog, not sitting in this fucking car in the line to cross the border. 5 or 6 days, every day I think I need go or I stay here. But my husband said me, no, I feel better when you go someplace when you don't look at this.
The early sirens wailed in Ukraine's capital once more. But this was no rude awakening. No one had been able to sleep.
My husband, who I love it so much, stay here and I go alone. He go with me to metro and train station. We go in car and I open a window in car and I look at it's like going bump. Yeah, and I understand I need to go. Of course I need to go.
Some of the rooms are bigger than others. We tend to split the rooms into male, female, smaller rooms for families. So in here we have Kangaroo, which is our biggest dorm. We have room for 12 people in here. All the beds are bunk beds, and from when it was a hostel, we have USB plugs in the walls. We also have individual lockers. Here's our main living room area. We have lots of sofas in here. It was made in a way that drunk adults can't ruin anything here. And so we can let loose the kids in here, and it's a great common area for the refugees here.
From the 24th of February, I lived for 5 weeks in the metro station. It was very cold there. I always felt hunger, so of course it was very tough to live there, very, very tough. I often heard sounds of explosions. Sometimes it was every 5 minutes, sometimes it was after a few hours, but every day. I decided to leave Kiev after talking with the French press when they told me that Kiev is surrounded by Russians, and what do I think about this? I thought, oh my God, no way, I never heard about this before. And I was scared, and next day I left. The journey was long, about 24 hours, maybe more, because railways were bombed. When I came to Budapest, it was cold, much more cold than in Kiev. I had no clothes, I had nothing. I had only a small bag with documents and some t-shirts, because I thought it will be warmer.
When we started, we had absolutely no idea what we were doing. We just thought, how hard can it be? You know, it's just like running a hostel, but you don't have to take any money off anyone. So it should just be easier. It turned out that couldn't be any further from the truth. And everybody turning up had very, very different needs to your average backpacker.
When I arrive in Budapest and when I go out with Newgati station, I don't understand, oh my God, it's real? It's people just walking just eat something. And I actually, maybe 30 minutes, I just stay and look at. And I think, oh my God, maybe this woman now go store and after go home. And these young people go party. My city now stopped and Budapest leave. My inside don't understand what's happening in the outside, because in my mind picture is not like this. Life is not like this. It's like all gray.
My dad and my brother are in Kiev. When the sirens go off, I receive notification. So it's hard to detach yourself from the reality back there, because I receive all the notifications on my phone, and I consciously did that. Today we had 1, 2, 3, 4 alerts for today. Yesterday just once. Thank you very much. I'm just numb to these notifications at this point. Another day, another air raid.
The refugees we host here have a wide variety of needs. We host anyone who needs to stay just for a couple of days. We do also have people who stay here for a couple of weeks while they apply for visas. And so one of the first things we asked for were computers. And well, you can see it gets used for multiple things. Kids are kids and they also like to play. In here we have our storage area, food, tea, drinks, also hygienic supplies and cleaning supplies. We keep our laundry in here. And we have a pre-made system where we pre-make everything we need for the beds, so when we change them, we can do it immediately. Now we're in the kitchen of the shelter. We have had donations of tables and chairs so we can eat and cook in the shelter. We also got new cooking supplies, stove, fridge. Almost everything you see here was donated within the last couple of months. As you can see, a couple of the refugees are cooking a traditional Ukrainian dish called borscht.
I just want to sleep most of the time. That's what I want, I can't describe any feeling that I'm feeling. This emotional exhaustion. Like every day new shit is happening and you just feel very tired and you just want to go to sleep and don't be a witness to all of this every day.
The response in the city was absolutely overwhelming. The number of people who came by to drop off games for kids or food or vouchers or offered to help their time or had made 200 sandwiches and just randomly turned up and donated them was like something I'd never really experienced before in my life. When I think back to when we ran party hostels, whether it's pub crawls or boat parties or whatever, it is a bunch of people coming together to do one single thing. And instead of viewing people as like the other, lots of different people from lots of different countries and lots of different walks of life, like we've all chosen to come and do this together. And therefore you do get this sort of sense of accepting and trusting people instantly that I think in most of day-to-day life you don't find. And I think both hostels and crises produce this same sense of community.
I feel good. I think it's because of hormones and just because of nature. Because of my brain, I understand that it's an awful situation. Because I don't have home, I even don't have a food. And Hungarian government don't pay me anything. I just go to charity and ask people to help me But I'm happy anyway, because it's my baby. I cannot be sad.